You want to know who's standing in Aaron Rodgers' corner? Cam Heyward. And not in a Twitter post, headline grab kind of way, in a full-throated, veteran captain, locker room backs you up way. Heyward called Rodgers able to make every throw known to man, praised his willingness to play through injury, and basically told a franchise and fan base that he still believes this team's best chance starts with the man under center. Heavy sports. Think about that image for a second. A 41-year-old quarterback, already nursing a fractured left wrist, takes one of the nastiest hits of the season, leaves with a bloodied nose, comes back and tries to lead his team out of a bad game. It was ugly, it was painful, and it was the sort of stuff that either becomes legend or a last stand highlight reel. Rodgers came back, hit a milestone, 65,000 passing yards, and still could not get the offense unstuck in a 26-7 loss to Buffalo. The optics were hard, the performance was worse, and suddenly the question wasn't just about Rodgers' arm, it was about whether everyone around him was matching his investment. TribLive.com, here's the thing Cam Heyward sees that national takes sometimes miss. Toughness isn't just pain tolerance. It's showing up again and again and making your teammates feel like they don't have an excuse not to do the same. Heyward's message wasn't a defense against criticism for the sake of defense. It was a challenge. This guy is laying it on the line. Now match him. That's leadership language. That's locker room currency. And in a team that's sputtering at 6-6 and sliding toward a critical stretch, that currency matters more than a stat line. But let's be real. Praise doesn't fix missed assignments. Rodgers' post-game comments about film sessions and route running lit a firestorm because they sounded like finger-pointing. When he said, when there's film sessions, everybody shows up, it read to some like a suggestion that some players weren't doing the work. That's an ugly narrative in any locker room, and it spilled into headlines fast, which is why Heyward's public backing matters. His version of the story shifts it from the QB is blaming teammates on TV to the QB expects professional standards and the team should answer. One is adversarial, the other is motivational. Heyward pushed the latter. Fox Sports. There's another layer. Rodgers' physical state. A fractured wrist for a quarterback is not a small thing. Tape job, stabilizer, whatever the trainers do, it's a major interference with mechanics, pocket feel, and confidence. Then add the bloody nose hit, the strip sack, and the fumble return for a touchdown. All the kind of plays that not only change a scoreboard, but rattle a locker room. Heyward acknowledged all of that when he said, Rodgers has battled through some injuries this year and still be available for us. In short, Heyward sees a guy still willing to sacrifice, even if the results haven't followed. TribLive.com. So what should we expect this week against Baltimore? The Ravens are coming off a run that has them clicking, and they're a team that will sniff out uncertainty. Heyward's comments are practically a call to arms. The message to the offense is twofold. Tighten the little things, route discipline, communication in the huddle, crisp footwork, and match Aaron's standard of availability and intensity. On defense, Heyward has already pushed the unit to own the run and remove self-inflicted mistakes. That cross-room alignment, offense hears it from Rodgers, defense hears it from Heyward, is what a playoff-ready culture sounds like. Whether it translates to a better performance on Sunday is the real test. Fox Sports. There's also the public relations calculus. When a captain like Heyward steps forward, it helps control the narrative. It pushes the conversation from Aaron's problems to the team's responsibility. That's useful for Tomlin and the staff because it converts national noise into internal accountability. But it's still risky. If Rodgers plays and the offense looks the same, Heyward's words will get reinterpreted as a plea that failed. The margin's thin. Leadership can inspire wins, but it can't manufacture better blocking calls or a dropped pass into a reception. Heavy sports. Let's be practical about Rodgers' situation. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's got the arm talent and the field IQ, but he's also 41 and playing through a wrist that begs caution, not bravado. Heyward's defense of Rodgers is not a guarantee of victory. It's a mobilization. It asks teammates to be better, coaches to be cleaner with schemes, and fans to give the benefit of the doubt that the team is still finding its stride. That's a heavy lift when the record is hovering around 500 and the schedule won't soften. TribLive.com. And one last human thing. Hayward's remarks are gospel in that locker room because he's been the model of consistency for years. When he says, "We're lucky to have a quarterback like him," it's not social media praise, it's the teammate version of a truth serum. Players listen to Heyward because he's earned the right to be believed. That's why his voice matters more than 100 pundits' hot takes. If the Steelers are going to turn this season, it'll be because leaders like Heyward made the difficult choice to stand up, demand better, and then hold teammates to that demand. Heavy sports then come to that. So what's the bottom line? Hayward's backing doesn't make Rodgers younger or fix a fractured wrist, but it does crystallize a choice for the roster. Either match the quarterback's standard or accept that this was the year the experiment didn't hold. Heyward is betting on the former. The rest of the team now has to prove him right. And if you want a closing line that sticks, leaders don't just cheer when it's easy, they lend their voice when it's necessary. Cam Heyward just loaned his to Aaron Rodgers. Now let's see who steps up to pay it back. Cam Heyward just threw the kind of support tweet you don't see every day. Loud, clear, and impossible to ignore. He didn't pick apart film or posture for the microphones. He praised Aaron Rodgers' toughness, reminded everyone that the guy can still make every throw in the book, and put the onus back on the team. If your quarterback is sacrificing his body, the rest of you better be doing the same. Let's set the scene. Pittsburgh took a 26-7 beating from the Buffalo Bills, and the images that stuck were ugly. Rodgers, blood on his face from a brutal strip sack, a fractured left wrist that he's reportedly been playing through, then getting up and coming back to finish the game. You can argue about schemes, you can argue about coaching, but few people can argue that Rodgers didn't give every ounce of himself that night. Heyward saw that, and he said what a leader does. Acknowledge effort and demand accountability. Here's why Heyward's comments matter. Rodgers isn't just a veteran body out there. He's a proven, elite talent. Heyward's line that Aaron can make every throw known to man isn't hyperbole. It's a reality check. When your quarterback has that range and that experience, excuses shouldn't fly. But Heyward didn't stop at praise. He pointed out the obvious follow-up. If one guy is putting his body on the line, the unit needs to answer. That's as much a challenge to the locker room as it is support for Rodgers. Now about the drama that followed the game. Rodgers said something clumsy about film study and players showing up. It was a heat-of-the-moment remark after a rough loss, and the internet immediately turned it into Rodgers threw teammates under the bus. He later clarified, saying he meant Thursday meetings and urged folks to be self-critical. Heyward avoided the petty back and forth. His message was higher level. Sacrifice matters, and everyone needs to match the quarterback's investment. That's leadership compressing the noise into a single constructive demand. There's also context to how hard this season has been for Rodgers and the offense. He's playing through a fractured wrist, took a shot that led to a fumble return TD, and still keeps coming back. Then you look at the box score. The Steelers finished that day with 117 passing yards and 0 passing touchdowns. That's not just bad execution. That's a systemic failure that starts long before the ball snaps. Heyward's point is blunt. Rodgers can't carry creative schematics, dropped passes, missed assignments, and failing gap discipline by himself. The team needs to show up. On defense, Heyward has been equally unvarnished. He's called out the unit to stop the run better and to be more accountable in gap fits. That's the other half of this conversation. This team can't just lean on Rodgers and hope the rest follows. The defense has to bring consistency, and the offense has to clean up the details Rodgers has been flagging. Sharper routes, cleaner mental reps, fewer busted assignments. Leadership looks like both sides putting in the work, not pointing fingers. There's something else worth noting. Heyward's backing of Rodgers sends an internal message to fans and the franchise pipeline. It signals that inside the building, the veteran quarterback still has the room's confidence. That matters in a city where headlines can demand change overnight. When your captain publicly frames the narrative, "We're lucky to have him, now match him," it becomes harder for the chorus of "blame the QB" takes to drown out the bigger issue. This is a team problem. Let's be honest about stakes. The Steelers sit at a fragile point in the season, 6-6, still inside the messy jumble of the AFC playoff conversation, but trending the wrong way. If the unit doesn't correct course, Rodgers' body and the team's chances are wasted. If they do answer Heyward's call, his statement becomes a turning point, the kind of inside-the-room accountability that can flip a season. It's the difference between a late push and a slow fade. And hey, there's a human angle here too. Heyward has battled himself, asthma, the grind to stay elite, and the wear of a long career. His call to match Rodgers' sacrifice isn't just X's and O's, it's empathy-backed accountability. He's lived the internal grind and sees what it takes. So when he asks teammates to match Rodgers, he's not being performative. He's appealing to an ethos. Do the work, because the alternative is mediocrity and missed opportunity. There's one more layer: public relations and optics. Rodgers' post-game comments about film rooms were awkward because they easily become a narrative that fractures locker room unity, or appears to. Heyward's approach diffuses that by reframing the story. It's not about snitching or checking attendance sheets. It's about a shared standard. That's crucial for a team trying to stabilize during a tumultuous stretch. At the end of the day, Heyward's message is simple but heavy. Your quarterback is still putting everything on the line. Honor that. For Pittsburgh, the follow-through is where the season lives or dies. Tighten the run fits, clean up the mental errors, run cleaner routes, and stop the small things that become big things. If the Steelers answer that call, his words will look prophetic. If they don't, they'll look like the final plea from a captain trying to wake up a roster that's slowly falling asleep on the job. Either way, Heyward just sent a message everyone in Pittsburgh, players, coaches, and fans, needs to hear. The ball's in the team's court now. Match the man who keeps getting up, and maybe this season still has a pulse. Ignore him, and you might find the pulse fading fast.